Diplomatic community complaining. Your friend Tim Kalija is posting on X, formerly Twitter, saying that General Saleh is the deputy head of state, and he got the point.
Is he not a co-president?
He got the point from the diplomatic community complaining. Though you are, my friend Andrew Mwenda is shouting at the top of his voice, saying, why are these people complaining?
No, you see, which diplomatic community? The European ones. Those are grandchildren of colonialists. They still think that Africans don't have heads to lead themselves. That's why you see they are all over the place.
No, in this one particular incident, they are complaining about CDF threats.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
Even Opondo has complained, Opondo himself.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
In my previous capacity, I had issues with the diplomatic community because they still think we Africans don't have our own heads. And unfortunately, there are many Ugandans in leadership who think that those people are the only ones who are intelligent. Do we need diplomatic community to complain for us? We Ugandans should complain. If our CDF is doing things that are outside the law, outside the rules, we should complain about him ourselves. Why do you wait for some German ambassador who's here for 3 years?
So we are not
now
complaining.
After he has gone, what will you do? If our leaders are doing wrong things, we should complain by ourselves. I don't support that we should wait for the diplomatic community to go to Gen Saleh to help whoever to complain about the CDF or anybody else. We should complain about him ourselves if we think he's doing the wrong things.
Or if you went to Gen Saleh, would you get the same media coverage and the same response from Gen Saleh?
If I
He would tell you, if you went to complain about the CDF to Gen Saleh, would you get the same response?
Why?
Or he would tell you, go and sleep?
Why do I go to Gen Saleh to complain about the CDF? I wouldn't go, because I have another platform.
Can you confirm if you can hear me? Yes, I'm loud and clear. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You can hear Imperialist speaking on his phone.
Yes.
I can also hear you.
Go on.
I'm saying, for them they can, but they are known meddlers. I don't want them to complain on our behalf. Let us do that complaint. Let us raise those issues ourselves. So you
have not helped to follow Opondo.
I don't support
Part of the reason they were complaining is that the CDF was also threatening them. So when they get
that was their bigger complaint.
Yeah.
No, and that shows you that they are unserious.
That they are afraid.
Yeah, they are unserious. Diplomats have the channel of the protocol department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That's why they should write their complaints too. Not General Saleh.
You say those things as you look at me with a straight face.
Yes, I am saying
that you want to complain about CDF in Uganda and you go to Foreign Affairs protocol desk.
Yes.
How would that be a complaint?
Yes. According to international standards, rules, that's why they should address their complaints too, not General Saleh. Otherwise, they seem to think.
I remember General Saleh telling Ssemujju here, do you know who General Saleh is? When Ssemujju was saying you are just General Saleh.
No, they were doing their back and forth, media, but for a diplomat, I am saying for a diplomat, the rules, they should address their concerns to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs will channel, if they evaluate and think that the CDF is a problem to the diplomat, to the head of state, who happens also to be the commander-in-chief of the CDF.
His father.
Let me switch off.
Commander-in-chief.
Let me switch off Ssemujju. He will speak when I've invited him to speak. Jacob Beyeru. Hold on.
You may not agree with that I'm saying, but
I'm saying nothing. I have not.
Honorable Ssemujju, you both gentlemen, your microphones are off. Just
thank you.
It's a question to you. You know,
as a bit surprised,
Jacob. You know, I because I look younger than but we're in the same age bracket.
Yes.
So it could be elderly. So you heard from us elderly sending you to a desk in Foreign Affairs to complain.
No.
Even you wouldn't do that.
I was a bit surprised that the ambassadors chose to go to General Saleh. Yet in March of this year, the ambassador, the head of the delegation, met with General Muhoozi, and they had a very cordial meeting. The army was happy to report on it. We saw a lot of, in fact, General Muhoozi himself reported on it on his X handle. I think that for me, if the ambassadors had a problem with General Muhoozi, seeing as they have got audience with him before, I don't know the ambassadors to be people who mince their words or are scared to meet anyone in Uganda. I think they should have taken the bull by the horn and gone to General Muhoozi to say, look, we are tired of you threatening us, and say it to his face, because he would grant them the audience in his official capacity as CDF. I don't think he would deny it. But be that as it may, let's not also dismiss the elder here. The official channels also exist. Government to government communications also exist. How they chose to take the issue to General Saleh, I don't know. But we also can't pretend like we don't know General Saleh's influence in Uganda. He is the one that oversaw the transition of the army command to General Muhoozi. But historically, he is also one of the very revered members of the NRA, who in fact are the people that formed what we now know as the force we have profession.
And his name has been left in
General Saleh is very respected across the board because of his conduct.
Except Ssemujju.
No, I'm sure Ssemujju also respects him, except for perhaps a few business deals gone wrong. Ssemujju maybe did not benefit from some, and he was not happy about it. But I just want to say that in military terms and military hierarchy in Uganda, General Saleh is highly respected, and I think it would be good to continue having guidance from someone of that high rank, so that we don't always have things mastered by only the president. And in the army, who attains the rank first remains senior. It is not that because we are at the same rank, I am now equal. No, if you attained it before me, you remain senior, and I salute you. Except if you are in official command structure, that is when the command structure also determines who salutes you. So I really want to just say the European Union has a choice to go and meet General Muhoozi. I do not think they can be locked outside Dumbuya or SFC or wherever General Muhoozi sits, and they'll have a cordial conversation. Let them talk about it rather than going to General Saleh all the way to Gulu. In fact, someone was asking, the ambassador has decided to travel to Gulu to report a matter of that nature, or there were, but I'm sure there were also other issues of general concern. Yeah, so I would encourage them, after bringing it to the knowledge of General Saleh, let them also bring it to the knowledge of General Muhoozi, and they have a conversation.
I wonder. George Baruga Harris says, even when you want to be upset with OO, you have got to love him. He calls them grandchildren of colonialists. So he hopes you get to Parliament soon. Michael.
Oh, yes. Now, on the issue of diplomacy, it's a it's a diplomatic sport, in my opinion. One is that I watched that clip, by the way. Seeing the exchange between Andrew Mwenda and the diplomats and Paul Cole and everything, I am disappointed because one, of the position the CDF holds, but then two, for General Saleh, maybe perhaps before I go to that, I should mention that this was, I think, a leaked video. And if you look at the meeting, I think it was a casual kind of meeting, and someone recorded this and leaked it, because the EU, the ambassadors, that team of the ambassadors from the EU, basically had gone on a different mission to northern Uganda, and perhaps casually, like many of the leaders have done, they decided to have audience with General Saleh. But then why I feel sorry for General Saleh is he struggled to explain and defend.
Sorry for him?
Yes, I feel sorry for him, because that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. And let's be clear on this, that the tweets General Muhoozi posts, some of them I think cross the line. We are his supporters, I'm his supporter. But then we need not for crossing the line.
You
Because
respond.
I mean
his
he's not.
microphone is off. He's going to speak.
General Muhoozi is not perfect, but for the position he holds, I think he should reflect on some of the things he posts, because some of them clearly are just absurd. Because for me, I wouldn't support torture of citizens, irrespective of what they have done. We have court systems where these citizens can be arrested, not illegally arresting people, subjecting them to issues of torture. Whether, we are in a digital age, so social media is a big tool for politics. And General Muhoozi, from his perspective, we know he's the chairman of PLU, we know he's angling for the presidency, and I can state without fear of contradiction that Muhoozi is going to be president of this country. Because everything, like we're seeing, the progression is that he's preparing himself for the presidency, and he's going to be president unless something happens and it stops him. Now the buck stops with the president. Our appeal is to the CDF, to General Muhoozi, and to the president, because the buck stops with him. If you remember, I think the 48th birthday of General Muhoozi, I remember clearly President Kagame cautioning him on the kind of posts he makes. Perhaps he didn't take heed, perhaps the president didn't take heed, but he was very clear on that, because some of those tweets really they cause problems, like the diplomats were raising, because you talk about arresting and deporting diplomats, attacking the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission and things like that. Some of those things really cross the line, and the people around General Muhoozi, Andrew Mwenda, Ambassador Katunji, they're ministers actually, like Balaam, who are, you're a minister. He's the minister for the youth, but in as much as he holds a responsibility, and as citizens and as members of the party, actually, for the Yerus, we hold them to account for some of their actions, because you can't be. What do you do when you're meeting General Muhoozi, for instance, Lilian Abels, all those ministers? When you meet him, why don't you guide him? Because Muhoozi, like I've said, is not perfect. He needs guidance. He's a leader who is growing, and like I've said, it doesn't matter, because we've seen Biden becoming president at 70. So our appeal is to the CDF and yes, the team around his closest friends, by the way, Honorable Balaam Barugahara, Lilian Aber, and that whole team.
There's a saying, people are saying, who is your Balaam? Everyone.
Oh yeah.
Everyone needs a Balaam.
Yes, you can. You see, you can defend and fight for someone without crossing the line. As a good friend, we need to give guidance to some of our leaders. Every leader needs guidance. So there's no leader who is perfect. Even Museveni, in as much as he's been in power for a long time, he's not a perfect man. There are things where he falls short, and that's why he has advisors. So the buck stops with the president. We are appealing to the president. In as much as
let's go to Honorable Ssemujju. Thank you.
All right.
Ssemujju is going to spoil.
No, finally the lawyer has spoken as a citizen. Because you see, these things are going to affect everybody. I remember when Kayihura was torturing people in Narufenya. The day he tortured that NRM chairman from Bunyoro. Yeah. Now people knew that nobody was safe. You see, the Uganda people will take it upon the way it is, not the way it ought. Because we are under family rule. Under family rule, nobody will go to. In fact, if you ask children on the street if they even know the Minister for Foreign Affairs, they will struggle. Because they know this country is run by Museveni, his brother, and his other family members. If you want something solved, you will go to them. I remember, even before I became a politician, sometime in 2000 something, the Honorable Nusurat Peru was either NRM used something when she was a youth MP. Youth in Mitiana wanted to meet General Saleh, and Chipero wanted to take Chigongo. They said, no, we don't want Chigongo, we want Saleh, because they know with the Saleh things will work. So the diplomats are not stupid, that they will go and meet a protocol officer. They know who is in charge, not even of himself. They will go to people, because if you want Muhoozi either to speak to him or to stop him, he has said it himself, either it is his father or his uncle. That's the hierarchy. Even when he is appointed, or is promoted, it is his uncle Saleh. I told you he came dressed like he was going to milk cows to preside over the Muhoozi's peeping ceremony and inauguration.
Sometimes you want to make a good point and then you spoil it.
No, that was important.
You could say he was not dressed in uniform.
No, that was important. But Saleh has come here. I have told him these things when he was here, the way he dresses. So it is his uncle who must preside over. So the whole government has been over, because ordinarily someone should walk to the Prime Minister. I remember when Tumukunde refused to vacate office when he had been removed. That time you had a semblance of government. The president sent there Professor Nsibambi and Tinyefuza. Tinyefuza of course said he'll go on Katere. He wanted to beat him. But Nsibambi said no, we can handle it differently. Because at least you had the Prime Minister who was fairly respected, and the president would allow him to go and do some government work. But just imagine walking to Nabanja that you have come to report that you have come to. No, I'm not the only one. That's why the diplomats went to Saleh, who holds almost no office in government. In fact, even when you read the Oscar, because the requirement under the law that government departments, as they bring their budgets in parliament, they will bring a list of human resource. Now Saleh is no longer on the list of presidential advisors. They omitted him this year, so he's not even a presidential advisor, at least by law, because we approve them every year. But he's a co-president. That's why the ministers will go, the speakers, because you are faulting the colonialists, the children of colonialists. But the entire government goes to Guru, from Arupo, the vice president, to Nabanja, to Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, to everybody. So if you can't access the president, then you go to the co-president. Now I don't know whether the son is the prime minister, because he can also. We are effectively under family rule. You can pretend about it of Opondo. You can choose to say nothing by blaming history. That's where you are. Even when you yourself come to parliament. The other day, MP summoned Muhoozi, said those crowns will come and arrest you. The chairperson of Human Rights Commission ordered him to release under the constitution. He said that woman never sent me these bogus letters. That's how he described the letter from the chairman of Human Rights Commission. So that's where we are. People can pretend. The government has disintegrated. There is no government now. So you just look for portions where it takes. Saleh, Oscar, even in the budget, they have budget lines. Now they have put money for Saleh, 20 billion under Operation Wealth Creation, 60 billion under what. So yeah, that's where we are. We can pretend, but that pretense will help nobody. I remember when you were complaining here the day they arrested your driver by not following the due process. But at least you complained publicly. You came here to Capital Gang and complain. I would rather go to Saleh than Capital Gang.
I can tell the listeners that I actually complained to the police authority at the highest level, General Kaihura. It was when it was persistent. Then I said, no, you Kaihura, who have talked, and this man is not getting released, not getting to court. That's why I use this, because we use this platform
exactly
to raise things where people have closed their ears.
Yeah, so
authorities have closed their ears.
Sometimes you may not go to the formal. You may not go to the formal channels, because the formal channels have been overthrown. Because ordinarily, if you want to campaign against the CDF, you should raise the minister responsible for defense. When General David Muhoozi, former CDF, told the parliament that when security people are arresting people, they must identify themselves, what was the response from Muhoozi? When I asked the Minister of Defense to explain the circumstances under which they are deployed soldiers in South Sudan, what did the Majezi, who speaks for Muhoozi, say? Said that minister, you are just our representative in the parliament. These things you don't know, they don't concern you. So you no longer have a government. That's where we are. You can pretend.
No, Oscar, you see,
Let me allow you 2 sentences to conclude this one, because I want
I don't think it is fair to say money allocated to OWC is allocated to General Saleh. No, General Saleh runs OWC as a program of... No.
I am an MP, please.
Which I agree.
Just around.
No.
We have budgetary and codes and procurement
and I am your resident in Chira, so I also
that doesn't make you an MP.
It doesn't,
yes.
But it leaves me with the option, so my MP should speak facts.
The facts are in Parliament, they are not
Honorable Ssemujju, where in the budget is General Saleh mentioned? Since you are an MP.
We pass a budget when you produce a recruitment plan, procurement, work plan.
Where is he mentioned? Is he mentioned?
Is he not the head of operation?
Which is what I am saying. So the money is for the program.
There is no program, I'm telling you, it is not there.
Honorable Ssemujju, with respect,
let him speak.
If I were to have a time, there are no beneficiaries of OWC in Chira municipality. But if you are to move around,
Continue, Jacob.
Perhaps I am just going to leave it at that. But respectfully, it would be good to also think about the beneficiaries. While you are saying 20 billion is for General Salim Saleh, yet there is a list of beneficiaries that are verifiable. So I do not want to go there, but there are so many things that money does that I'm sure you can find out from General Saleh. So let's, as the head of the program, so let me proceed and just say the other thing that for me is a bit of a disturbing thing. Yes, it is true that there are very many members of one family in government, but there are very many members of very many families in government. It's not just President Museveni's family that is in government. Ssemujju is in government. We don't know where Ssemujju's relatives are working. So this non-disclosure for others does not mean that there's only one. Perhaps which merits concern from across the board is to say, if all power is vested in one family, then we would have an issue. But when Ssemujjus are discussing the budget, they change things whenever they want, and they are the ones with the power to appropriate. He has told you here that MPs are the ones that sign. If it was that it is not that way, then we would say, okay, maybe there's a problem. But there are processes, and that's why General Muhoozi can disagree on Twitter but not have his way on the floor.
They will leave it at that. Honorable Ssemujju, I'm now going to switch on your microphone. Tunduliso.
To pretend there's
we've had Tunduliso was brought to court. Again, surrounded. You know, it's interesting. They bring him to court same time as Besigye brought to court, and then we have our Agatha here, who was also abducted and thrown back into Uganda. Besigye's lawyer was denied entry into Tanzania. And Uganda, you know, you have to commend Uganda, because Uganda allowed that Kenyan lawyer to be Besigye's lead lawyer. So
you see, Tanzania is different from Uganda. Tanzania more or less is like Zimbabwe. I'm not even sure that Suluhu has full control, or she has gained it. Magufuli had some control over the state, but the state of Tanzania behaves like that. It suffers from paranoid. And Tanzanians, every meeting I have attended, Tanzanians are not comfortable with Kenya, whether it is a meeting of journalists or not. I'm on them in Nairobi during a meeting of editors forum. We are unable to constitute a leadership because Tanzanians said these Kenyans are not respecting us, and the meeting. So there was be issues between Tanzania and Kenya. But I had thought when Suluhu announced some of reforms, my thinking was that the system had accepted them, because in Tanzania almost, so you compete the same way you compete with Museveni in Uganda. They set the standards. You will compete against us this way. So if you don't live within those standards, you are in trouble. The only difference is that in Uganda there are things Museveni will allow. maybe because he's a military man himself, and he knows where to stop. So he will allow a few things for public relations, but the approach is not different. After all, he admires Tanzania. But for me, what excites me is that the East African now, you are people who can move and follow up cases of repression in Tanzania, in Uganda. So Museveni wanted us to take us to East African community. I think we are moving along with him. So let him welcome everybody. Let Tanzania, I highly doubt, because even just working in Tanzania, I have relatives who were working in Tanzania. When Magufuli came, they were chased. I remember the first time I landed in Tanzania, the stamp that was put in my passport is that you're not allowed to work here. But they said we are East African. So Tanzania is a different ball game. And it's unfortunate, but I want to commend those who went there. Because under Magufuli, the opposition leader nearly had almost been killed. He just survived by...
Probably they wouldn't have gone.
You can't. Under Magufuli, it was very difficult. So that's Tanzania. It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. It's a very conservative system, but it is still a system. You don't need to go and visit Suluhu's husband or Suluhu's sister-in-law. They are still institutionally constituted, but of course conservative and very repressive.
Opondo. The Charles Onyango says, tragically, Atware would likely have faced similar or worse treatment in Uganda, possibly reappearing with her head shaved, limbs broken, face battered after detention in a senior security officer's basement.
Why is Onyango talking in tongues? Is he a coward? Now,
you know him more than us.
Yeah, I think there's enough human rights work to do here that personally I don't see
why colonialists should go to Tanzania.
No, these are I think they are busybodies, but also this one way they generate money.
You know the way always put it. There's enough what human rights work to do here.
Yes, there's enough advocacy work to do here in Uganda. You don't need to go to Tanzania, but you see, I think the work of Uganda, we had done exposure that this is how this, because ask all these activists, how do they raise money? Do they sell cows? Do they sell chicken?
They raise money the same way government raises money.
Do they sell matoko to do this work? Somebody is paying.
The same way they pay government.
The government of Uganda raises much of its money through taxation. Even when we borrow, pegged to our ability to pay, to raise the revenue from taxation. So that's how we raise much of our money. Yes, somebody can give us some bits here and there, yes, but we raise the taxation through taxation. So, and selling our goods and services. But these people are really, these are all antics for raising money. And so that's why they go to Tanzania. They keep hopping from different countries to different countries. There's a lot of work to do here that they don't need to go for to do this or there in Tanzania. And I am glad they were shown the treatment they truly deserve.
Tanzania as an East African
future MP. I hope
that
you
will
will not
bother
repeat
you.
those things. Jacob Bayer.
Thank you. You know, I'm going to. This one doesn't have an NRM matter in it. I just think that it should not be criminal to attend court cases.
I like the way you introduce it, because it doesn't have an NRM matter on it. You can speak from the heart.
No, what I'm saying is
that you can speak from the heart.
If I disagree with Opondo, it should not be seen as if we have left the party.
Yeah.
No. No, Ssemujju, that's a low blow. But I don't think it should be criminal to attend court cases. The only challenge, and I think with the Tanzanian system, is that Tanzania's political space is very controlled. What people enjoy here in Uganda is very different from what is alive in Tanzania. And some people might not know how free people are in Uganda until they move out.
Until they are independent.
No, until they move just within our region here. Oscar, I'd like to just, my experience, 2017 when we went to Zimbabwe, when we landed, the team that received us told us, yes, you've come here, you are politically astute young people, but please keep the president out of your mouth. Let's talk about other issues politically, but let's not discuss the presidency. Here, Honorable Ssemujju and his ilk can abuse President Museveni and we go home. But it's not what happens everywhere. So I think...
Ssemujju's microphone is off.
Yes. No, I'm saying you can. I'm not saying you do.
You said we can abuse him.
Yes, which is what I have said. So and there's no problem with that. I'm not saying you
abuse him like what?
I can't. You want me to? I think you're digressing.
Let me digressing.
In what sense?
So you think Museveni is favoring people to live in Uganda?
No. I am saying here the system permits you that you can do some things and you reach home. In many countries, the freedoms that we enjoy here, even though they are not perfectly enjoyed, are very much better enjoyed than in other respects. And Tanzania is just one of those countries.
It is true.
And I just hope that our activists... No, it is very true.
Jacob, we have
I'm happy that the Ugandan sister of ours, Agatha, was released. I'm happy that Boniface was released back home safely. It should not be like that, but the sovereignty of states, and they determine how they play their politics. Like we always say
but
here.
Illegality is international.
No. You see, sovereignty means that you don't meddle in internal matters, especially of politics. And it's because of the political meddling.
Or was it going to court?
Which is what I am saying. That
so there was no meddling.
Which I started with. I said you should not be criminalized for attending a court session. But the system in Tanzania is very different. Especially when President Magufuli took over, the nature of political space really shrunk in Tanzania, in a sense that there's almost no space to do any opposition, anything. So I'm just glad that the activists are free, but they should know that when you are doing some things in Uganda, they may not apply.
When you add but.
No, you see, these things are contextual.
That's how NRM people speak.
These things are contextual. In Tanzania,
even in
they are not going to treat you like they go treat you in Uganda. So the context is always important and should never be lost in conversation.
Okay. Michael, I have Herbert in Entebbe says, even as early as the 1960s, Honorable Grace Bingira passed a law on emergency detention and was the first person to fall victim. Then Amama Mbabazi, then Kale Kayura. Nobody is safe with a bad law. Then
for you, I will not come when you get arrested.
I have
I know you will come.
Moses here.
There's no reason to arrest me.
They can be found.
I have where is Moses' comment? I have Moses also saying the trial of civilians in military courts is not unique to Uganda. Even in the USA and UK, civilians are tried in military courts under special circumstances. You kind of mentioned that. You and Jacob mentioned that. Yeah. For instance, if civilians are serving with the UPDF in Somalia and they commit crime, they should be tried by the military courts sitting in Somalia. If you brought those in civilian courts in Uganda, the courts here wouldn't try them because the crimes would have been committed outside Uganda. But Ssemujju has said they were tried in Uganda. Yeah, over to you on
Tindu Lisu. He has a history of run-ins with the state.
He has 36 bullets in him.
Sure. And Tanzania goes to the polls on the 28th of October. So there's a lot of politics around all these scenarios. Of course, he
has been elected as the opposition.
Banned and is not even eligible to run for president.
Was
upcoming elections.
So when they say the party leader, nothing will happen.
And his party elected him as the chairman last month. So there's clearly a problem in Tanzania. There's shrinking civic space. The issue of, for instance, Martha Karua. Actually, if we look at the issue of denying the lawyers,
come to your microphone.
The lawyers who had gone, they had not gone. Perhaps maybe Martha Karua would have maybe being one of the representatives, but there's a process through which one can be
becomes a
of
representative.
someone in Tanzania. And from what I know, at least Agatha, in as much as she's a lawyer, perhaps she hadn't gone through that process. So they had gone there perhaps to
Observe and show support.
Maybe
not sing in court like Ssemujju.
Sure. So now the issue, actually, if you are observant, you must have realized that even Justice Maranga, of the former Chief Justice in Kenya, was also part of the team that went there. In as much as they detained him at the airport, they later let him in. Then, even when they were deporting the Martha Karuas, the means of deportation were different from Agatha and that gentleman from Kenya.
Boniface.
Yes, Boniface Mwangi. So it speaks so much to the politics around.
The cost to pay.
Yeah, it speaks so much around the politics that is being played. And President Suluhu Hassan was very clear. He said they're not going to allow foreign interference. And in as much as under the East African Common Market Protocol, some of these lawyers basically are supposed to practice in every country, you can clearly see that the conservatism one of the panelists was talking about, they're stamping their ground and they don't want interference, meaning they are focused on the election. So whatever has happened to Agatha is very unfortunate. We are glad that she's been released. We saw the diplomatic notes from the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Kenya. We saw Kano Mwesiji in Tanzania doing the same thing, trying to extend consular services to the two activists and that kind of thing. But ultimately it is politics. Even if you look at Agatha, for instance, she's building a profile. If you look at Martha Karua is angling for the presidency. She's a candidate. She has a political party. She's going to run for president in Kenya. She may not, because there's no certainty on that.
Still, there's no excuse for torture. So
there is absolutely no excuse for torture.
We have Jacob here, who's angling for many things in the NRM.
Sure.
Good luck for him. So I wouldn't wish him to be tortured for angling.
So in as much...
I need to mention, because I did not mention, I am running for chairperson of the NRM Youth League.
See?
Yeah, so in as much as there's a lot of politics around this whole thing, you have seen Martha Karua very active in Uganda, in Kenya, in Tanzania. That is good. Okay. But then we shouldn't have situations or scenarios where we're having citizens of the East African community being denied entry.